So now let's hear from Jason. Yeah.
Yes, it's my turn. Hello, everybody. Before I begin, I was just wondering whether actually more people could turn their cameras on. The only reason why is I think you can understand what I'm saying. It's just that I want to know whether you can follow what I'm saying sometimes. It's just that when you're presenting, it's always important so that I can get an idea of, oh, am I speaking too fast or is it not relevant to you? And I also want to say that although this is focusing more on university level, what I've really enjoyed so far is listen to elementary, middle school, high school to get more their perspective how they teach, because it's actually made it very enlightening for myself because I see it from the other end of the spectrum. And it's really interesting to see how much enthusiasm you have in the classroom and how much you're trying to engage the students to become actually more self-confident in their own speaking and writing. So thank you very much. More people than I realised. So yes, my name is Jason Pipe, and today I'm just going to show you my PowerPoint. I'm going to talk about basically encouraging critical thinking in academic writing. But this may be something that might resonate with you teaching at middle and high school and even elementary school as well. The key point here being critical and the other one being academic as well. It seems to be common buzzwords in textbooks, and I don't think enough attention is being drawn to what it really means as such. So anyway, hands up, who teaches writing then? I imagine you all teach writing to certain levels as such. So my question is, what is academic writing? It's a simple question, but when I ask my students, they say use longer words, try to be precise and unbiased, and possibly, it's hard to understand because the level, that's the mentality they start to think about. But as you know, with academic writing, it needs to be clear, concise, focused, structured, backed up by evidence, and so on. These things we can understand quite clearly because obviously we've had to go through university ourselves. We also need to think about the tone, the style. It doesn't have to be complex either. That's not necessarily. So sometimes people think you must start to look at the high level grammatical structures, but that's not necessarily the case. But, as with any subject, it needs to, focus on particular vocabulary that matches the discourse you're basically focusing on. So I've looked at my background's in business, so I make sure that the language focuses on business academia, but others might work on the sciences, the STEM subjects, or with law, and so on. Now, the characteristics may be more useful for everybody in the sense that when you write academic, you need to plan and focus your writing clearly so that the reader can follow clearly. It needs to be structured. So obviously we're all working on this side as well. Evidence-based would also probably be useful, when you're doing your own research at high school as well. But at university, students need to know how to research their topics clearly. And often the case, I found that they haven't been introduced to these skills at university level. So I'm having to teach these kind of basic points at university. And again, the tone and style. Now, the purpose is also important to think about as well. You want to make sure that it's, you're reporting a piece of research conducted by yourself, and you obviously want to possibly answer a question provided by the lecturer, or you want to discuss something which is of particular interest that you are interested in researching. And you also need to synthesize your research done by looking at other previous research and trying to include it into your essay to basically substantiate your argument. And these are common examples of them. But let me just stress that even at elementary school level, note taking, writing clear notes is an academic achievement in itself. So I think it needs to be clearly explained that these should be taught at an earlier age, to be honest. But today, what I'm looking at as regards my 11 minutes left, is to talk about what is critical thinking, the challenges, what gaps there are, and how to reorientate students to learning to help them become more critical. So what do your students think critical thinking is? Well, mine thinks being correct, finding counter arguments, and maybe using citation. But when they look at the textbooks, they don't seem to be critical. The textbooks seem to introduce an idea and they read the article and accept it. They don't seem to disagree. So I have to work on quite a lot of levels to try to make them start to think at a more critical level. So what is critical thinking? Well, It's basically the ability to think clearly and rationally about what to do or what to believe. So you read something, you need to think, does this actually make sense to you or not? And why not, if the case? You also try and look at logical connections between the ideas, identify the relevance, is it important or not? Often a case when I teach students to do research, if they read the abstract and it absolutely makes no sense for them to read any further, I will say to them, stop reading it. So you need to learn these really simple skills. But when students go to UK, for example, to study, they feel as if they need to read everything. They need to become better at judging the materials themselves. And obviously looking at the arguments themselves, look how it's, find them, see how it's constructed and evaluate whether it makes use or not. And then looking at inconsistencies as well and trying to solve problems in a systematic level. And finally, obviously, you need to justify your own beliefs and values as a result. Here's a point though. The misconcept is this, not being argumentative or being critical of other people. That is not necessarily academic writing, but you need to expose any fallacies that do not make sense, that's for sure, okay? But academic writing is also about cooperating reasoning, constructive tasks, and acquiring basic knowledge to strengthen their arguments, because basically they are looking to substantiate what they feel and research from that side, rather than just research, find the idea and use it in their own opinions. So it needs to be turned around. But what I found, especially at university in Japan, is this issue about culture. What I mean by that is, well, from a high school, for example, it's structured by what your parents and what your teachers think. So it's very teacher-centered, for example. When you come to university, you'll somehow have to show that you can manage your own time, your own study, and so on. It's difficult because when you're in a classroom, I don't think all of you, but most you have these kind of set up where you have individual desks, learning by yourself, and it's where you have the teacher right in the front, so it's very passive. You're looking at accuracy in the English, trying to avoid mistakes for examinations, memorizing language as best you can, issues with teaching as well, and unaware, because of the large classes, of what students really, really need to know. When you get to university, however, there's issues about motivation, not enough exposure to make them feel comfortable, the attitude, how are they going to maintain conversations with people, feeling comfortable. Their personality might be an issue because they don't feel comfortable speaking in front of people, maybe because they might lose face. Obviously, the mother tongue is an issue, and high context culture, where people consider the situation rather than themselves. So there's lots of issues when first years come into class. So when I try to get students to become more critical in thinking, there's a lot of factors to consider, and it does take time. So to be critical, I think needs to be encouraged at every step, whether it be discussion, evaluation, the feedback feed forward, or the research. They all need to be somehow included into your classes. And this is why it takes a lot of thinking to try to get teachers to really be aware of how they can do it at every level. So the first thing you need to do is sell the idea. Yeah, if you've got, for example, an essay that's boring, they're not going to basically be interested, because you want them to focus on a topic that's interesting. Yes, builds on motivation, they can invest their time wisely, they focus on the content rather than accuracy, which is an interesting one, because at high school, a lot of the time with testing, it's focusing on accuracy. And then you can also work on modeling, learning, and interest. If it's something interesting, you can show interest in learning and give positive feedback. It does emanate with the students as well. So reinforcement is the same, and well, a similar point. I always provide them with an essay plan, okay, and an essay title. This was one based from a textbook I'm using, discuss the 3 most important inventions that changed society before the age of information technology. I think not very exciting, but that's what the textbook was looking at. And so I asked the students, would this be a suitable title? And basically, I thought it was boring, and I suggested a different one. What concerns do you have about modern technology? And I thought it was interesting. But through discussion with the students, they actually preferred the first one. But having that conversation is really important, so that you can get them to start to evaluate what's necessary and why. So there's a discussion just on an essay title. So students' consideration need to think about, when you're trying to set essays or any type of writing, always think the topic, if it's interesting, a suitable question where they want to get involved in, even the length, ask them how long they want to write for. I taught a second year class which they hated writing. And one reason why, because of the length. So I said, fine, we'll shorten it as long as you show that you can focus on the quality, which they did. And then try to discuss the purpose. So these are things you need to work on at the beginning level. It goes with Bloom's taxonomy, for example, okay? So those who are high school teachers would know about this, but remembering facts is very low, understanding facts is getting higher, applying the facts is using higher skills of learning. But when you start to analyze what you're doing and evaluating, these are higher skills of learning. And if you get them to create, which I'm trying to do, then it makes it a lot more motivating for them to try to involve themselves in the writing itself. Okay, so this is another thing I look at, and that's about evaluation. It's quite straightforward, so the students can follow it. Okay, and I tell them how much it's going to be the assessment, and then we talk about the word limits and so on, and I make it clear that the homework I set for them would assist on certain paragraphs, and I tell them they've got 2 drafts to work on as well. So there's a kind of clear framework, but you need to think also about how you can make your feedback feed forward, with purpose. And so you need to get the students to read other people's essays and analyze them, evaluate them, reinforce their ideas, why it was good or not good. And if not, even go to level of disagreeing with the essay. Now, these are skills which take a lot of time for students to really understand, because obviously the cultural aspect is they don't want to be rude. Who am I? I'm a student. And they don't want to lose face. And so often it takes a long, long time to try to get students to be encouraged to express themselves. And I'll show you a few ideas I've done to help that. Obviously, there's process writing, okay? So I basically get the students to, after written their essay, get them to grade their own essay. And then I get someone to read the essay and grade it and evaluate it. Then this is when I start to look at I look at their essay and grade it. And then with my comments, I write down what the expectations is, then a final grade. So I think this is something which we all know about in writing. I do it through Google Docs. I give them a checklist. They know what's going on, okay? And, I get them, and I'm going to just show you what I've done with one class, for example, okay? Just want you to notice how the peer evaluation occurs, the peer comments and the research. So if I just quickly go on to that now, stop sharing there, and then go on to this one here. Okay, so this is one class I have, okay? So there's about 20 students in this class, so it's less than the high school, for example. I'm just choosing this student, only reason why is because I could actually edit his name so you couldn't see his family name. But if you look here, the students put on Google Docs their essay, they template this, and I can see that's what the student already gives themselves a grade, and surprise, surprise, the peer review is also high, but it was a fairly good essay, and I give my grades and explain why, and then you got the final grade and a comment as such. As you look at the essay, I haven't got the comments on, I'm afraid, just realizing because the ones with the comments on have got their student's name on it. I had to make sure you couldn't see it. But you can see the citation, what they've got, and you can see the source reports is where they research and explain to me where they found information, what was useful about it, what vocabulary was about, what vocabulary was useful, and so on. And this becomes part of the criteria as well. So I've got a source report trying to make sure they do their own research. And I've got basically reference and citation to make sure they got enough in their essay to show some strength. Ooh, I'm speaking too fast. I do apologize. Now, if I just go back to the PowerPoint, you can see that side of it. So when you give evaluation feedback, it's important to make sure there's modeling involved and such. So this is an example of an essay I gave to students, and they found their research. And I looked at one essay, and then I gave feedback for all the students to look at. So basically, they knew it's a 5-paragraph essay, and I gave a color code of one of the students' evaluations. It does take time to do this, but I think it's really important to show that you can look at specific essays, and so that students can learn from it, and also they can start to see where they're going wrong. So, for example, the color code is looking at the structure of the essay. Okay, so you can see that counter arguments in gray, topic sentence, main support, minor support, concluding sentence. And then when you see it in an essay, you can start to see clearly how it's structured. Okay, I mean, this is the topic sentence, and I explained the hook, the thesis, obviously a lot slower than now, and obviously I give them a printout so they can start to work on their coloring, so they can figure out how it's structured, for example. Okay, but I would ask them what's missing, the three main ideas, and I look at each body paragraph, trying to show clearly where it is, okay, and where in fact it isn't. Okay, so no concluding sentence in this one. May not need it, but there we go. So you can see just very briefly how I can show how I evaluate an essay, what language I need for them to try to emulate in their review of other students' essays as well. And it works out pretty good, but obviously it takes time for students to feel more comfortable in being critical. How to evaluate without being rude. But it does work because they start to realize that the most important thing is not to be rude, but to provide some form of essay or report that is actually strong, right? So how could this would be a question: how to improve the conclusion? Clearer signposting, maybe more specific. Even with referencing, I've shown aspects of that too. So, and then I give commentary about how to improve. Overall, the essay was, has purpose. The writer has a clear stance. Do I believe the writer? Not completely, as I have questions about the students who spent too much money, feel anxiety, and prefer their own educational system. So obviously, I'm trying to present the other side to make the students start to think more clearly about why is my essay not convincing enough? And without explaining these points to the students, they would not know themselves how to make their essays a lot stronger. So that's one side, is to show that kind of modeling, okay? Moving on though, researching an essay, obviously it adds a lot of strength to your essay. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I use this thing called a source report. This is one example, okay? And I say you use 5 maximum to encourage them learning outside the classroom. And they go express where the source came from, the vocabulary used, what you're going to use it for, and why. Okay, so this is adding strength because when I talked about essays working to reflect a certain type of level for their specialist subject, researching in that subject obviously allows them to attain vocabulary and language and ideas that would reflect their actual interest in the actual essay. But another thing, orientating students better, and that's what another thing I want to talk about, is how to make them critically review. And obviously they need to talk, and one thing, as you know, is talking is an issue. So I introduced this idea of time pair practice, which is basically a novel idea where they ask 10 to 20 questions about what the essay is about or what's from a textbook, okay, just to make it more engaging. And these students will write these 10 or 20 questions out, and they'll practice in pairs, and then after that they'll go to different pairs, and after they practice enough with their different partners, then I will give them a quick testing stage where they need to speak as long as possible with another student, but the point is they picked at random, and basically they are evaluated by how long they speak for, okay? So these are just 2 examples, and as I said, they're in pairs, bad joke, so they work in pairs, because this is nice and easy in groups of 4, but I did it on Zoom and it worked fine as well. And then obviously you get them to doing different groups until they can speak well. I'm going to play a video about students speaking, and I want you to watch and also watch me as well. Okay, so this is a quick one. Whoops, that was too quick. Hang on. Oh. Let's have a look. So, hang on. Oh, that's a strange person. Okay. Is it going to work?
I didn't like the English, so but he had influenced on me, so now I like English.
Oh, that's nice.
How about you?
I think my parents influenced me a lot.
Your parents?
Yes.
Oh, so why is that?
Because they told me many basic things like manners or
Oh,
etiquette. Yes.
it's very important for person.
Yes.
So, did you learn something from?
I'll stop there because of time, but you can see that they're trying to make conversation, but you can see other people listening as well. And so it's basically passive learning of vocabulary, ideas, but those two people speaking, they are starting to use the language. I mean, this was at a kind of low intermediate level, but it's a really good trick to have to get them to talk more. But I just want to get onto this one main point, which is really useful, I think, in the classroom.
Really quickly.
All right, sorry, yes, I know.
We're kind of running over a bit.
I know, sorry. Okay, so basically, this is the idea about the seminar work, okay? I provide them worksheets about how to express themselves, about how to argue, agree, disagree, interrupt. And then I would work on these skills as well about, giving points, interrupting, clarifying, agreeing, disagreeing, summarizing, and then how to give evidence. And I can do this, a double circle seminar. Basically, the inner circle is where the students are the ones in the actual seminar giving their ideas. The partner in the outer circle, they're the one who's going to evaluate that student. And so I give those people on the outside this form, and they notice whether these people interrupted, clarified, and agreed, and so on, and also additional ideas, and they just observe. And so basically you have two seminars on the same question. So inner circle has a seminar, outer circle observes, and then when it's done, they give feedback for 5 minutes, then I swap it around, the outer circle becomes inner circle becomes outer circle. And it really, really works well. And the other thing I do is provide two chair people in the actual seminar. And from that, it is really, really good to allow them to actually argue, disagree within the seminar. And the final thing I do is with the essay plan, I say it's for homework, you need to get it done. But when you're in a seminar, you can add to your plan. So let me just quickly show you this very quickly. I'm just jumping quite ahead. Okay.
Steam engine and steam-powered locomotive is one of the fundamental invention to make a transport system. So it would be no. It is very it's a breakthrough for the people to go to some place from okay, how do you say, very far place, like far place from their home. So I think it's very no. It is the most important or
Okay, I would show you more of it. It's really interesting if I had more time. The reason why is because you can see the chair people interrupting, summarizing, then getting other people who haven't spoken involved as well. And I'm just sitting back, and they are actually having a very engaged, critical discussion to assist the essay. So once they've had discussion, then they go to the essay, and you'll be so surprised at the quality of writing that for me, I say to them that this is why I expect for students who want to consider a master's course back in the UK, because they've shown the qualities. And it does take a long time for them to understand this, because it hasn't been taught clearly enough, the expectations. And I'll stop there because I've probably spoken too much, so I do apologize.
Just a little bit, Jason. Thank you so much. We all know how important critical thinking is in not just writing, but in all of those skills, right? And so, yeah, I was actually waiting when you were going to mention the speaking activities as this is a speaking in the norm. So I'm glad that you finally were able to mention that, because that was my biggest question throughout your presentation was like, okay, but do you because I have my students do peer reviews of their essays as well, but they do it both typing. They answer similar questions that you did or that you had in like a template, but they also discuss in breakout rooms. They actually go over the paper together and actually do an oral exchange of their opinions and stuff like that. So I was just wondering, but thank you so much, Jason. Unfortunately, we don't have time for you to answer questions live. So if you can go to the shared file and answer people's questions there. That would be much appreciated. Thank you so much.
You can.
And Barry, our very last presenter, but not least, take it away. You are muted though. I should let you know. Yes.
Okay, not anymore. So obviously I'm going to go a little quickly with this. I just like to say that my classes have been paperless for about 3 years now. And so I have been teaching not online. We were always in the classroom, but I had my students handing in or doing all of their activities online, either with Google Forms or in my communication classes, we also used Flipgrid to do videos, things like that. I'd like to introduce a 4 skills first year university fundamental English class, just a freshman English class that has an average of 60 students per class. Because I know for university teachers, usually these classes are the most challenging. The smaller kind of communication classes or the smaller kind of elective style classes are a little easier to deal with than these kind of larger general English classes. So I'm going to also do a PowerPoint. I'll share my screen and I'll go through and just show you really the details of how I've changed. It's actually almost the same class that I taught last year. The difference is the first 2 weeks of the class. Oh, actually not the first 2 weeks. The second 2 weeks of the class. So the 3rd and 4th weeks of the first semester, the spring semester, we didn't have classes because of Corona, because of the emergency situation. But after Golden Week, we went back to face-to-face. But it was challenging because we couldn't really, I always did pair work and group work as a general rule. And in order to avoid very close contact, I had to kind of rethink what I did in the classroom. So let me just share my screen. Which one am I sharing? This one. Okay. And I'll go through the class, pretty much just what I did and how it's set up. So my university is a small private university. There are 50 to 60 students in each class. We only went to 2 weeks in quarantine or in emergency where we didn't have classes in April. And after that, they've been face-to-face. However, the challenge here was that, especially in the autumn semester, we have a lot of 70% of our students are sports related students. So, which means they go to different prefectures for tournaments and they come back and they have to go into self-quarantine, maximum 2 weeks, which means that those 2 weeks, they miss class, even though the rest of the students are face-to-face. So how to deal with a class that has maybe, especially with a larger club activity like soccer or baseball, where you have soccer kids, 1/3 of the class is not there for that class, but the other 2/3 are. So how to kind of level the playing field, to use a sports analogy, so that everybody can do the assignments pretty much all on the same timeline. So that's what I'll be kind of introducing today. So this is a kind of a hybrid, I call it a hybrid class that is both face-to-face and is also able to be run online, both synchronously and asynchronously. So in real time and in not real time. So it's an active learning syllabus. I said it's online and face-to-face. It's student-centered. So there's no, a lot of the university teachers that have gone online have basically just put their PowerPoints online with their voices explaining what they're doing, and they're calling that online, and it definitely is. But because my English classes have always been much more active, I wanted to keep that kind of activation level. I wanted to keep it output oriented and have them accountable for the output they create. And I wanted to be creative. So I'll be introducing a classwork component as well as a homework component. First of all, as Jason mentioned at the very beginning of the whole day, I mean, how safe is it really to do face-to-face? I mean, our school said to us basically, yes, you can do face-to-face, go ahead, but keep your distance. They weren't, it wasn't a high school or a junior high school, and it wasn't a public university where all of this was mandated from top down. They pretty much said, keep as much distance as you can, but you're still in the classroom. What I did, usually last year in past, I have done always pair work and group work activities. I still did that, although I made it an option for students. If they felt comfortable doing pair work or group work, that was fine, as long as they keep at least 1 or 2 seats between each student with masks on. So I made sure that they had, because the school mandated they have to keep at least 1 seat between them. So that actually wasn't my rule. So I had either 1 or 2 seats if they wanted between each student, and if they wanted with mask on to do each activity in pairs or groups, I allowed that. But if they didn't feel comfortable, I also allowed them to do it individually. My classes in the classwork was anime based, but a lot of people I know, they do use anime in the classes. I think one thing maybe different from the way I do it is that in my anime, there is no speech element. There's just background music or maybe sound effects. There's no actual English talking in my anime. So I have the students come up with creative ways to answer questions in English about the anime, or create their own dialogue in the anime, which I'll introduce in a second here. All of the information that they write and they present is in Google Forms. I create the Google Forms myself. And the students, 99% of my students are using smartphones to fill in their Google Forms. In both of these classes that I taught this year, actually I had 3 of them. I think in each class of 60, I had maybe 1 student with a tablet or computer. Everybody else, even though I had recommended they do it, they would just use their smartphones. And I was okay with that, even though, I mean, it would drive me crazy looking at a smartphone for 90 minutes, but they are okay with it. So that's what they did. They used their smartphones for all of the work in the classroom. So the Google Forms had the embedded anime. I embedded the YouTube link into the Google Forms, and they all logged into the web class. It's the learning management system. It's like Moodle, but it's our local school's LMS. So the students logged into the LMS, and then they accessed the classes, the Google form from my class. So class number 5, for example, class number 6, for example, and they would access the Google form. And I would get their attendance based on, I have to take attendance based on whether they logged in and actually accessed the Google form or not. The answers to the Google Forms can be checked in real time, or they can be downloaded to an Excel or Google Sheet for later checking. And the thing about the good thing about this, that was really more of a coincidence than anything, is that those students that were sports students that had to miss because of mandatory quarantine were still able to do the class activities from their apartments or homes or wherever they were in real time with the class. Because they were just in lockdown. They weren't in a hospital. They weren't, anywhere else where they actually couldn't do it. They could do the classwork in real time together with the students that were doing the work in the face-to-face environment. So it really was a hybrid situation. Okay, so this is the kind of class activity that I did. One of the activities I did was what will happen. So I would show the video, I would pause it at a certain timestamp, and I would ask the students, okay, what will happen? They have to write at least 35 words for each of the timestamps. As I stopped it, what they think was gonna happen. I emphasize that there's no right answer. They don't have to be perfect in their grammar. I just want you to, I gave them a 7-minute time limit. I timed it for 7 minutes. They have 7 minutes to write, which is actually a long time. Most of them didn't need it, but some of them did. My university is pretty low level of English. They have 7 minutes to write at least 35 words, sentence, what will happen. Just, to be creative and to get them to use English and to have output. They could do it also, obviously, if they were at home, they were in individuals, but if they were in class, they could do this individually. They could brainstorm with a pair or in small groups, maximum of 3 per person. And they would answer the questions. And one of the animes, I'll show you a clip now, is called Soar. I use these CG brothers. I don't know if you can see my cursor here. This is I don't even know what you call them, an online kind of collection or series. They make their own anime, and they also collect anime that you can access and show your students. So let me unshare this one, and let me share the other one with you. Here we go. So this is an example. How do I share? Oh, okay, hold on a second. So I'll go back and I'll share this screen. This one, okay. I hope you can hear it. So this is the kind of anime that I show them every week. And I'll just jump ahead here for a moment. So the airplane doesn't work. Something falls out of the sky. And so I would stop it here and I would ask the students, what will happen? Okay, and so they had to write about that. So this was called SOAR. And so we would do different activities. There were 4 different activities that I would rotate throughout a 4-week period. Another one is create a dialogue. So I would show them, an anime. The animes are only about 4 or 5 minutes long. They're not full 30-minute or 1-hour animes. The animations are only about 5 or 6 minutes maximum. So they would create a dialogue. They would watch once as a class and then create dialogue, and then either individually in pairs or small groups, they would create a dialogue, right? And then I always have them rate, just for fun, rate the film. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? So there are 4 kinds of activities that I rotated, like on a 4-week. And as Ivan said, I think it was Ivan who mentioned the being careful and really having the same pattern every week. And within those patterns, of course, there's creativity and there's change, but to have a sense of kind of a pattern, because I think one of the problems with Corona and having is just everybody's life was either being put on hold or no one knew what was going to happen. And so to have that kind of patterning, I think really kind of helped them settle down and really enjoy the class. So we did an anime summary. They had to summarize in their own words what happened from 5 minutes. They did the dialogue, they did the what will happen. And I also started this year was the first time I did find the facts, which is I would ask questions based on the animation's topic. I would ask them 1 or 2 questions about real life. So I would have them look in Google, for example. One of the questions was, why does the Earth, well, actually the northern and southern hemispheres, why do they have 4 seasons? Most of the northern and southern hemispheres. So they had to look on Google about how the Earth rotates around the sun and how the Earth rotates itself and how it's on an axis tilted. And so they had to find all that information and then write an explanation about that. It's not always related to science. Sometimes it's social problems. Sometimes it's future tech or whatever it is. These 4 topics I would rotate every month, so every four weeks. So I'll get on to the homework now. The homework is from 3 years ago, Greg and I, we decided to go totally textbook-less. So there were no textbooks. This English Central is, as you can see here, it's an AI-powered English learning platform specifically designed to help you improve your spoken English. Again, I said it's a 4 skills class, so I have them reading, writing, speaking, and listening. It's a video-based course that the students access from their smartphones or computers. So we created with the English Central staff, we created an individual original course for our students. Each week they had to watch 5 videos. They had to learn 25 words that came along with the videos. They had to speak 25 lines of text from the videos for a total of 1.5 hours per week of homework. There's at the bottom, this is the new general service list of English vocabulary. They had to study that, and the first 10 minutes of class was a weekly vocabulary test that they had. And the vocabulary test was online because it's all through the same English Central system. So whether they were in class or not didn't matter. And the time limit was set. It was the first 10 minutes of every class. So the students knew that this was only this first 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, they would be blocked out. So they couldn't ask their friends, they couldn't do anything. They had to do it, even if they were at home, the same exact time as the students in class were doing it. Are you able to see this? Are you able to see is this shared my presentation? Is it shared? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to double check. Okay. So it's a custom-made course. It was level graded to our lower level students. Of course, not all the students were lower level, but 90% or more were lower level. This is, for example, 1 week's worth of videos. Each video is between 1 and 1.5 minutes long, so it's not too much for them to handle. There was a weekly quiz based on the video vocabulary. This was separate from the vocabulary quiz that I gave them the first 10 minutes of every class. Each video contains video watching and listening, of course. It contains vocabulary learning, and it contains speaking. And I'll just demo real quick for you now. How can I share a new share? Here we go. Which one is it? It's this one. Yeah, here we go. So you watch the video.
When did homework become the never-ending nightly nightmare we know it
Can you all
as
see
today?
this? Yes.
It was in the 1950s
I
that
hope-
things started
yeah.
to change and homework finally reared its ugly head.
So that's watching the video. So you watch it. Each of these, all of the 100% of the vocabulary,
Homework.
you can see it'll give you, and the students actually can get a Japanese translation if they need it, of all the vocabulary. So the next is learning the words.
And homework finally reared its ugly head.
It's fill in the gap style. So you have to type in the missing word. You can listen to that clip as many times as you need, and then you type in. I didn't even hear what they were saying, so
And homework finally reared its ugly head.
So you put in homework, right? And then you can continue to the new words, okay? And then the next one is the AI part. The speaking, you can choose how many lines. For example, this video total has 11 lines of speaking, but the selected, you can select the 3, they're already actually pre-selected for the target vocabulary. So you speak, the students speak into their iPhones or computers, and the speaking is evaluated by the system's AI according to American English or Australian English or whatever the students decide. I think we decided American English in our classes. So let's see how that goes.
So when did homework become the never-ending nightly nightmare we know it as today?
So then you click on the microphone. Oh, I have to allow. So when did homework become the never-ending nightly nightmare we know as it today? And there's a very good job, right? So it'll give you 99%.
And homework finally reared its ugly head.
And homework finally reared its ugly head. So I got 98% on that one. So the students can help.
Teachers and school
Can practice-
districts were encouraged
Stop.
to assign
Stop.
more homework.
Stop. Okay, so the students can practice pronunciation as well as reinforce their listening and comprehension of that video as they go through it. It's really, the students have really enjoyed it. Greg and I both have found it just a really great tool. And the students, a lot of the students, not all of them, of course, a lot of the students will actually do more than they're expected for homework. They have goals. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. They have goals that they have to reach every week. So they have this 1.5-hour goals, 25 words learned, 25 lines spoken, 5 videos. Maybe a third of my students will actually do more than is expected. They can go outside the actual coursework and look at other videos that English Central has on their own. And a lot of them do actually more than it's expected, which was really surprising. So the class assessment, the teacher, as far as this English Central, it's also an LMS. So we have access to all of the data. The times that the students log in, we can listen to their speaking components. It's all MP3 recorded. We can see what words they actually learned, what words they've missed, things like that. As far as the class assessment in total, 1/3 of the class was the anime in-class worksheets. 1/3 of the class was the English Central homework, and 1/3 of the class was graded on the vocabulary test averages. And they had 12 tests, vocabulary tests for the year, in each class. The first 2 or 3, they didn't have because they're still getting used to the system and logging on and getting their passwords and all that stuff. The first part is a little confusing for the students, but once it's up and running, it works very well. I won't be able, I don't have time to share all these comments with you, but these are comments, positive and things to work on, negative comments that the students had written, has filled out, not as a questionnaire that I created, but as the school evaluations for each of the classes. It's totally anonymous. I can't see who's doing what, and the students know that it's anonymous, so they're free to write. I shared the PDF of this whole presentation as I think it's the first file. Actually, I can share it again now. I made a PDF of the file. So if you'd like to go back and look at some of the comments, this is actually just one class of comments. I have 3 for this autumn semester, but I put, they're all pretty much similar. The positive and these negatives are from 2 classes. And these are actually 100% of the negative comments for all the classes. And it was very few. The positive comments, which were optional, there were, you know, I don't know how many even here. There were 25, maybe 20 here. And each class had the same 20, 30, so maybe 60 in total of optional positive comments. The students really enjoying different aspects of the class. And so just as a wrap up, this kind of Corona situation was fairly easy for me to adapt to because I had already been paperless and a lot of the homework had already been online with this English Central system. The only things I had to do is really do a little more social distancing and allow the students who had been in self-quarantine to access the system in real time from their homes in Google Sheets. But it was very successful. The students didn't have any real problems with it. They already knew pretty much how to use the LMS, the school's LMS. So if you like, obviously, to ask questions or get more information, please contact me and I'll fill you in anything that I kind of missed today. I said it's not a complete spoken class or communication class, it's a 4 skills, but there was definitely a spoken component in class as well as for homework online. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you
And
so
I'm back.
much, Barry. I love the anime idea.
The students really like it because all the students love anime, right? I really like the students, I think, really enjoyed having to create their own English instead of just listening to whatever the anime had and maybe, you know, doing a dictation or, you know, answering questions about what the English was in. They actually created all of that English by themselves. Yeah. Using whatever tools they needed, whether it's, you know, a translation tool or whatever. I allowed that because, I mean, to tell you the truth, I think in the future, that's the way second language or third language is going anyway, you know, so might as well get them used to it now.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really great. It actually, you know, the video you shared, because I was thinking like Japanese anime.
Yeah, no, all foreign anime. Yeah.
But yeah, but it made me, your video made me think about Pixar shorts.
Exactly. Yeah.
None of the Pixar shorts have words.
Yeah, exactly. And I choose specifically those kinds of anime and very short ones. They can't be too long, right? You said maximum maybe 5 minutes, you know, 6 minutes, something like that. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your presentation, Barry. Unfortunately, we don't have time for you to answer the questions live, but you did get quite a few questions. So I hope you'll be able to attend to those.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah, I wanted to thank everybody for presenting today. I really wish we had more time, but as you know, we had 9 presenters, which I think is a lot more than what we would usually have in a MyShare or a very similar event. So I hope that we can plan something longer, but, you know, more, you know, where there's more breaks, you know, maybe instead of a half a day or an afternoon kind of thing. It can be like a whole day kind of thing, so that we can have more teachers from all contexts contribute. Because I think that was the most beneficial thing from this today, was just to get everybody from every level talking, right, and exchanging ideas. So I really hope you guys had a good time and were able to take some things away from today. I do have a survey that I would love for you guys to fill out. This was the very first time we've ever done a roundtable online. So, so if it was a little bit rocky, I appreciate your patience, and I'm sorry if I had to cut you off. This is all new for us, and so if you could give us your feedback, that would be absolutely fantastic. I wanted to, Edo wanted me to remind you all that the JALT call proposals are due tonight. So, yeah, Barry, you should definitely.
Since everybody's here, can I say that we're going to extend it?
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yay! Yeah.
We're going to be sending in an email shortly, so you have some more time. But everybody, like, this is the year for tech.
Yeah.
Submit your proposals.
Yeah.
I just typed in the chat too. March 8th. Shh.
I think
it's the new deadline.
One of you should should submit a proposal to Job Call, because like Aaron said, this year is all about tech. So it's all about exchanging ideas and doing exactly what you did today, but you would probably have more time to share at Job Call. So I'm glad that you were able to share at least a little bit today. Jason, did you have any additional announcements on your
Really quickly? Yes, I did. Just one. The JOLT International Conference in November, the call for proposals is March 14th, as you can see. Oh, wait, this side here from my background. So if you want to submit a proposal, that's starting to run out. The time's starting to run out there. And tonight there is a another Zoom. If you guys are all not zoomed out yet, JOLT itself is having a professional development Zoom at 7 o'clock. I have the information for that. I shared it. I can share the screen quickly here. Maybe I can't share the screen. Yeah, forget that. Never mind. But there's one more thing I did want to mention. If you are interested in that, just let me know and I'll forward that information to you. I'll put the picture in the chat. But I'd love to, because we never get a chance to do this, I want to thank Rachel for all of the planning and putting together this event today. Let's give her a big hand. Come on. Lots of work went into this.
Thank you guys. I do appreciate it. It's really hard to keep everybody on track. I feel so bad for needing to interrupt you guys because you all had fantastic ideas and presentations, and if I had all of the time in the world, I would give it to you. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you enjoyed the event. Again, your feedback would be absolutely tremendous. If you want to do something similar in the future, we'd love your input to make it smoother and more organized. So thank you very much. Jason has also been an absolute fantastic help.
No, you did everything. I did like 2%.
we work together pretty well. So it's true. Yeah, at Iwate-Aomori, we all work pretty well together. So it's awesome. It's nice to have such a wonderful team. Yep. Because we always forget about our chapter, we actually have two larger events of our own coming up. Jason, did you want to share a little bit about Mies and Tiles?
Yeah, we're still in the planning stages for them, so I don't really have a lot of concrete information, but I'll tell you right now that Mies this year is coming up on July 4th. That's pretty easy to remember for the Americans in the crowd. And we'll probably have more information on that coming, so please stick with our website and we'll get that published. And Barry's giving me the thumbs up that I had that information right. Yay. And the other event we have coming up is Tiles, which is our Tsugaru-based event up in Aomori or Hirosaki, depending on the year. And we'll have more information about that soon as well. It's going to be in later September 26th. Am I right, Vicky? Is Vicky still here? Oh my goodness. Well, anyways, regardless of that, I'm going to post, our website is Iwate-Aomori. Oh, here, let me just, actually, it's not that. Iwate, I haven't been able to change this. Iwate-Jolt@wordpress.com, and everything, all the events we have this year are posted there. I'm the publicity chair. Rachel is your program, right? Just making sure I got that right. Yeah, okay, good. Oh, thank goodness. Please come follow us, join us. If you're more interested in JOLT itself, you can join the organization. If you're not a JOLT member, I recommend that, jolt.org. And I think that's all I have to say. You've stayed until 5 o'clock already, so thank you so much.
Yes, otsukare-sama to everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very, very much. I hope you will attend one of our events again in the near future. And of course, we'll be looking out for events of your own that we can attend, whether it's with your chapter or with anything, with JOLT Call. Like, I hope to see a lot of you in JOLT Call. I would love to hear even more about your ideas. So yeah. Don't be afraid to share your ideas. Don't be afraid to send out proposals if you haven't done it, right? So go ahead and do it. Jump in
Please
with
come
2
to
feet.
JOLT Call.
Yeah. Yes.
We want you.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. I will send the survey one more time if you guys haven't gotten it yet.
If you like, I can post a survey on our website if you forgot the link, because these Zoom links don't last forever. So if you forgot it, I'll post it up on the website so you can fill it out if you forget.
And we will also be posting a recording of this. Of course, we'll try to chop it down into individual presentations, so you don't need to watch the whole hour or hour and a half, you know. And we will. My hope is to also include that discussion highlights document too. So if you don't want to, because some people like watching the whole videos and some people just like reading the summaries, you know. So we'll add that, and the questions for the presenters as well. We'll probably add both of those documents or the links to them somewhere in the YouTube description. Hi, Alexandra. Are you saying goodbye or raising your hand?
No, I just want to make a point. Your survey has what environment what work context do you have? And the radio buttons are exclusive.
Oh, are they?
So you can only have one. You can't have more than one. So I work across multiple levels.
Made it multiple.
No, sorry. So no, it's only got sort of one or the other. So yeah. So if you wouldn't mind just updating that would be great before we do our stuff. That'd be wonderful.
When I was making it, I knew that most people work at multiple schools and sometimes different levels of schools. So I had thought that I had made that.
No, you need to be able to select more than one. So
yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, everybody.